Just when everyone was saying, the end of the world is here, she just smiled slightly, ready to head out. The daughter earnestly pleaded for someone to accompany her, but all she could see around were just pairs of exposed eyes watching her surreptitiously. Ultimately, in the depths of her despair, she had no choice but to step into the fog alone. This scene perfectly showcases the bystander effect in psychology. No one stepped up, responsibility was diffused. Responsibility was split among many, more people meant less help. They were probably all thinking, someone else will definitely help her, or if there's real danger outside, why should I take the risk? This is the cruelest part of the bystander effect. After a tragedy, everyone can quickly find an excuse for their inaction, and then conveniently move on with life. The woman's choice is fine. Criticizing someone's loss of rationality in a crisis. What would we do in the same spot? In extreme conditions, rational thinking often gets drowned by emotional impulses. It's not stupidity, it's pure instinct. Soon, people in the supermarket clustered, locals on one side, city vacationers on the other. Like neighbor Norton, but David wasn't worried about that. His main concern was finding food to nourish his son. Entering the storage room, David noticed the generator smoking, so he shut it off and waited for a worker to fix it. He then continued to search for supplies, but suddenly, a strange banging noise came from behind, as if something was trying to break. David was so scared he bolted, bumping into a supermarket worker at the door. He told them about his experience and tried to ask, "Hear anything weird?" Everyone looked confused, thinking David was scared of mice. No one believed him. They decided to check together. Under the flashlight, the warehouse seemed fine. The repairman tried to start the generator, but the vent was blocked and the generator unresponsive. Someone needed to investigate. However, David refused, believing there was danger outside. Arguments ensued and the repairman dismissed him. But this wasn't just plain stubbornness, it was typical professional arrogance rearing its head. To the repairman, he knew his equipment well. Why would an artist know better? Secondly, the repairman subconsciously felt status anxiety. In this perilous small-town supermarket society, artists like David and lawyers like Norton obviously belonged to a higher social class. The repairman harbored an unspoken resentment towards these elites. Now he finally had the chance to prove they could make mistakes too. And he wasn't going to let this chance slip by easily. Fortunately, at that moment, manager Bud stepped in, and with Mike volunteering to go fix the vent, the argument calmed down for now. When the storage door finally opened, the fog still shrouded every corner, but the monster David had imagined did not appear. However, when Mike turned to grab a tool, the repairman's face suddenly froze. A massive tentacle burst onto the scene, wrapping around Mike's legs and dragging him toward the fog. David reacted quickly, rushing over to grab Mike's arm, but human strength had nothing on the unknown creature. He shouted for others to help, but only Bud pulled out a fire extinguisher, trying to give the monster a taste of its own medicine. Despite struggling, Mike was dragged into the fog in vain, while David anxiously waited at the storage door. Severing evidence, he exploded in anger, venting at the repairman, now pale as a ghost. Once brimming with bravado, the repairman lost all his bravado. When everyone settled down, a new question arose: should they actually inform the others about the fact that there was indeed a monster out there? After all, they were just a handful of people, and speaking recklessly could cause a David and Bud exchanged looks, deciding to downplay the message. But when they attempted to align the repairman's story, they saw Norton whispering with the manager. Bud reminded them that Norton was the big lawyer in town, soon to be a judge. He held significant influence in such a position. If they could persuade him to issue a warning, it could prevent someone from going outside. But as a businessman, Norton scoffed to the ridiculous idea of monsters. He even scuffled with David during the argument. Confused, customers gathered. David had to recount the storage incident. Yet, despite his gripping recount, people remained skeptical. After all, who could believe in monsters? Fortunately, David had a trick up his sleeve. When the store manager followed everyone to the storage room, and saw the still wriggling, his expression shifted from disbelief to shock in a second. Back in the hall, the manager's confirmation forced everyone to face reality. David and the others weren't lying. There truly was something in the fog. To prevent the fog from spreading into the supermarket, they used dog food to create a barrier. Once overtaken by fear, people instinctively seek spiritual refuge. Like the woman who preached the end of the world, she now has her spotlight. She began promoting conspiracy theories. Psychologically, extreme religious fanatics emerge inevitably from collective panic. It represents meaning-seeking when humans face unexplainable horrors, instinctively seeking frameworks, which religions provide. The woman had long internalized biblical doom prophecies as a worldview. When fog and monsters appeared, she didn't panic like others. Instead, she integrated it into her belief system like the Day of Judgment. Neighbor most surprisingly pulled out a gun from her bag when she saw her friend. She figured that if there was a weapon, then there was a means to deal with the monster. She was ready to take the lead into the fog, being a staunch rationalist. She refuses to accept reality beyond her understanding, not due to stupidity, but because acknowledging monsters would shatter her worldview. Psychologically, it's a self-protection. She'd rather question evidence than compromise her beliefs. David, unable to stop them, pulled out a rope, saying it would prevent getting lost and help in danger. The people in the supermarket could pull them back. So, one by one, these elites ventured into the fog. At first, everything seemed fine.